Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do hate to say it. I think it's probably time for us to do a little bit of a wander walkthrough and kind of probably call this mess good for the time being. I've sat around and kind of stared at things for a while and decided that, well, since we've pretty much done all of the researches that we can possibly do outside of all the repeating researches, and again, this is kind of the point when I get to where I'm a little bored with things. We kind of just give up on it. So, hello everybody, this is Frogman. Welcome back to probably the last episode, at least for now, of our Captain of Industry series. I've somehow managed to get almost, well, it's over 60 episodes, and I still didn't figure that was going to happen. So we do what we do, and I know it's kind of just getting to that point. So I had plans to do a bunch of things, and again, it's kind of one of those do a bunch of things and sit down. I was playing the other day for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, just trying to get a couple of things done. And the couple of things done are, well, where we've got some issues happening over here, so, and some issues happening behind us, and some issues and some new things happening down here. So we're going to go ahead, go through them, and then I think we're going to, like I said, call it for now. I may decide to pick this up and kind of play with it in a little bit, because they have announced that there's going to be another update coming fairly soon. I don't know exactly when it's going to be showing up, but yeah, you guys are out of things to dig. Okay, well, the first big thing that I want to say, I guess, is, since we're digging into things, is that the aluminum is now gone over here. We've used up all of the aluminum that is in, or the bauxite, more or less, that's in this hole. And we do not get a bauxite asteroid, or at least not from what I can tell. I've researched and scanned, I guess I should say, scanned, and all we end up getting is the titanium, copper, and iron, silica, and, well, the crystals, quartz, whatever, and the very occasional uranium. So what I have done, at least with that end of it, is I've started down here trying to get across over to here. So I happened to get and sadly it did not land where I wanted it. I wanted it a little bit more over here, but I happened to get a fully stone asteroid. So I figured, why not just drop it kind of halfway in between both of these islands over here to kind of start giving me a way to get across. So I went ahead and started to tear down some of the mountains that are here, and I think we go ahead and continue to tear down some of this mountain this direction. We'll probably go like right there and just have those guys, well, I don't want to do that. I want them to mine, not drop. So we're going to mine all of that, let these excavators right here get to work, and then we're going to build until we get over to here. And then once they get across here, they should be able to dig through this, and then we'll be able to use the majority of this asteroid to fill in the area that we need to get over to here and then over to there. Again, it probably neither here nor there, and I may just, like I said, I'll probably maybe just play a bit of this off camera, offline, doing whatever we think we want to do, and you guys should now have something to dig. Because again, all we are at this point is you're at the spot where, do you want to continue to research this stuff for better benefits for your people and for your game? And to be fair, we've been at this since this update dropped, so I'm kind of a little bit tired and bored of it, basically, to say. Had plans to move all the smelting and whatnot over here and start a new mining system over here, and I may end up having to do that here fairly soon anyway, because I'm almost out of the copper that is in this hole, although there's still just a little bit that they're digging out of this wall, and we can kind of continue to scrape around a few things. If nothing else, if I'm sitting here and I'm bored, I might just drop another asteroid right here, but I'd kind of like to bring all of our ore collection, ore production in fairly close to include, I guess at this point, the one asteroid that we did get that had a bit of uranium as well as the quartz in it. So my thoughts here, essentially, like I said, we're just going to kind of wander around, look at the little things that we have done, and then we can go from there. So again, I did start filling in the area around these guys, and, well, if I do so say, the best option for us probably right now is to just drop down a ore sorting plant like right here, like I had already kind of set up, and then take the resultant out of that and pump it up this hill over here and push it into a bunch of smelters, and then remove these guys and put them over here so that they're out of the way, so that we can use this area, should we feel like it, for more production. Again, same thing with the iron. We can do that by dropping a couple of iron nodes or something over here or over there. I don't know. That's why I dropped this fairly close, because this is This was mostly quartz, but it's also, like I said, got a bunch of uranium in it, so we could just start dropping quartz asteroids around it, or I could start mining it once we get to it. It is kind of just how you, I don't know. What do you say? Whatever it is what it is, as they say. So we did finally eat up all of this, so I suppose I can... You guys can just remove that, I suppose. And then we can remove this, and you can remove this, and all of this can get deleted because we no longer have any depleted uranium because we have been using it up to make this recipe right here. So as soon as that stuff gets delivered over to here, that should flow out on that belt. We can kick it up to 2, and then they'll finish this, which means, the sad part is, which means now I'm going to be consistently running off of the uranium that we get off of the map, which is fine for now. So we'll just do that, but that also means I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful with what we do with our stuff, because this was making a considerable amount of blanket fuel for us. And that's the whole point, is you're trying to use the blanket fuel up, or at least using that stuff up so you can make blanket fuel, so you can make the, what is this, enriched blanket fuel, so you can do this kind of stuff. Now, there's a lot of things we can do, and we can go on forward from there, but I do kind of think I'm going to do one more of those just to see if they can come up with something good, and then they can launch a few things and we can go. All right, the next big thing that happened is, again, since we ran out of aluminum, I decided to do something simple, and by the fix for the something simple here, we decided that we're going to start exporting 100 gold for 1,500 bauxite ore. And that's a pretty decent trade considering the fact that we're already getting a whole lot of gold for not a lot of gold. I forget exactly how much gold goes into one of these servers, but you know, it's 15 for there, so you're doing whatever that is. My brain no worky this morning. 15 times 15 is, yeah, 225 gold, so that's not terrible as far as what we're getting out of that return. Plus, I do believe there's other ways of getting the bauxite should we so choose. So I set that back up, and I left the mine out here with, I forget, something like 80 years, the just-in-case kind of thing. We've got about 80 years left in that, and if I feel like it, I could do a couple of more researches for the mine efficiency. I believe we could do this one, and it would give us another 2% on top of the mine efficiency, so we'd get a little bit more out of them. And I can see where you're going to want to do that research for a while, because that research is going to make sure that you can continue to keep things moving. The other thing we did is, well, since we've done, I guess we've already been doing this, and I should have said it already, but yeah, we've been doing the servers over to here. But the other thing that I did do is I moved the gold out of the area that it was at. So the gold production no longer exists in this hole over here. And I went ahead and doubled up the production because of the fact we're going to start selling it for other things. So yeah, just kind of took the process and doubled it, mirrored it, stuck it all together in a nice little pile, and now I have something like 30 some odd gold per minute that is coming through the system. So that was just a thing that I needed to get done, and now we have plenty of gold, because I kind of, again, one of those things I need to do is think about rebuilding our microchip production, because we're not making enough microchips right now to keep things happy because of all the things that are happening over here with what we're doing, especially with the fact that we have to use so many of these chips, the purple chips, in the parts that go with the rocket stuff. So yeah, it's kind of was the rocket stuff, the asteroid stuff. It gets pretty expensive as far as those things go. So yes, we do. I did that just so that I made sure I had plenty of things going on. The as far as that goes, that's the main drain for everything that we've had. So I've still not gone and started to build the other rockets, mainly because of the fact that I don't see the point, I guess, at this point. Excuse me. I understand maybe if you were still doing space science and you were also trying to drop rockets or drop asteroids down, but as far as this goes, the biggest thing that I should have thought about was not doing the second upgrade that I did here, even though it's giving us a 30% global research bonus and all of this. It gets a little expensive to try to keep people in these rockets and the food in these rockets and their station parts when you keep upgrading this thing. So I mean, it's just one of those things to keep in mind as you do that. You get to a point where you're going to have to launch multiple rockets like we are right now to keep the station crewed. and then be able to immediately launch a bunch of food up there as well. So I think trying to keep that as low as possible is a good idea, as long as you plan on not using any of the other sized rockets. And that has definitely helped as far as trying to keep parts around. So the rest of this mess over here, these have been fantastic, and I should have gotten into these way early, and I'm actually kind of contemplating adding a little bit more of our adding more computing to it. And actually I need to make sure I have all the parts in here. I think we filled this one up good. Yeah, I may need to go ahead and make a couple of more of these just to get things going out here, and then be able to add some more computing, because this is definitely the thing that I can see where if you're going to continue playing the game, excuse me, bounced my elbow off the desk. If you're continuing to play the game, it would be a good idea for you to start building as many of these offices as you can, because you get a massive amount of bonus for not a whole heck of a lot of things. And what that will allow you to do is come into your captain's office and shut down some of the things that are in here, especially like the maintenance. You can start knocking that maintenance down quite a bit, and the water, I believe there's a bunch of things in there. You can start knocking this down, which means you can take the Unity that you're using here and put it on other things like overloaded trucks or fuel consumption or whatever, things like that. Or maybe you could do less fuel or something like that, or whatever. It's definitely a way of being able to do a couple of things. And yeah, that's just the thought that I was going to say on that. So for some parts, and the thing that I want people to understand, some parts and the food it takes to feed all of the people that sit in these things, you end up with a decent bonus over what you normally could get. So, as far as everything else goes, I believe we had a small project over here. This asteroid, we're slowly working on getting it cleaned up. I've come down on a shelf a little bit more and started digging up. And yeah, we've kind of got decently worked over here as far as the iron is concerned. We've been filling in this bay slowly but surely, because there's a bunch of things under this bay that eventually probably you're going to want. The trade for the thing that I was looking at, the trade for limestones, I don't really like any of these. And I understand it's a kind of a simple thing. I really don't like how this all worked. So you kind of look at it as far as it's a trade directly for the iron ore, or trade for something that's pretty stinking expensive. I mean, I know they tell you what the actual cost is, or a trade for production and costs and stuff like this, which is still, if you look at the estimate of what that costs, it's kind of expensive. So I think you're going to want to just, especially with this one, can I get that to show? Where did I find that? It's right there. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff for a lot. I mean, not a whole heck of a lot. Granted, it's only 30 for 15 of them, but it's still an awful lot of stuff for that one little thing. So I think you're probably going to want to try to mine as much of the limestone out of the map as you possibly can. And there's not a whole lot down here. Granted, there's not a lot, but there is a decent amount here. I think there's some more out here someplace. And there's another big, massive patch over here that should last you a really long time. So I understand kind of the point. I don't know, there's just a lot of little things that if you wanted to continue on with the game past finishing everything, that you can do if you feel like it. So the other thing, I think very soon, like I said, we've used up all of the copper and the iron that were over here. They're now pretty much all gone. I suppose probably what I should do is move this mining facility out of this particular ore sorting plan and put it into this one, so that I can kind of dig this area up and get all of that limestone. Again, it's kind of one of those, do you really need it all? I don't know. I still have a whole bunch of limestone over here and a whole bunch of sand that I keep digging up just for the funsies of it. So I don't know. It's a definite just kind of chill out, enjoy it, and do whatever you feel like doing with it game. There's definitely a lot of death spiral loops that you can get yourself into if you're not paying attention. And I guess you just, like I said, you just got to kind of pay attention to things as things go and play with them. So as far as everything else goes, I think we're pretty well done with what I wanted to do, at least for the day. I know this might be a fairly short episode, and I do apologize. If we come up with something, or if I decide maybe I'm going to stream something, or however it wants to go, I might toss this up and play a kind of a stream with it or something from there on, because we're talking hours now to get anything done. I mean, just to move all of that stuff up here is going to be like 2 or 3 hours worth of just gameplay that I'm going to have to cut up and play with, and then bring this in here and then change the way all this stuff works. And to be fair, there's nothing left to do. We've done it all outside of, all of the infinite researches multiple times. So the researches, especially these 20, 25,000 researches they complete in 10 minutes at this point. So it's pretty nice, which is not too bad. We can continue to keep that up and go hundreds of thousands of researches. But, you know, it is kind of what it is when things go. So I think for now, I mean, I was going to drop an asteroid on it, but honestly, I really don't kind of feel like messing everything up because it's running so nicely. I will see you all later. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. And again, like I said, if something new comes up within the next month or so, we may pick this back up. I know they were speaking of new updates, and they're going to be changing some of the way things go, and they're going to be giving us water-based vehicles, which I have no idea how they plan on making that work. We theoretically are the captain of industry, and we don't have water-based boats. So, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I will see you all later. Thank you so much. Bye.